All right, how many people in the audience are left-handed? All right, okay, I see you. Just a few people. All right. How many times have you had to think about where to sit at a restaurant so that you didn't bump elbows with the person sitting next to you? Let me see if my sit in. No? All right, it's not working. There it is? Okay, there we go. All right. Okay. So, oops. Still not working. All right, we'll leave it there. All right, so those of you have to think about where to sit. There are lefty people, right? Second question. How many of you ever have to think about the fact that you hate having to write on a dry erase board or having to work with felt tip pens or pencils because you know you're going to probably smudge? Yep. Last one, and I remember a few people like this. How many of you have ever had to run to get that last lefty desk in the classroom, or try to find a lefty notebook, or try to find those lefty scissors? Yeah. All right. Well, you're not alone. The few of you in the room, you found your community. What I want the rest of us to think about, though, is look at how different life is from that lefty perspective. Daily life, the things that they have to think about on a daily basis is different from those of us who are privileged enough to live in right-handed world. And in fact, it opens up a window to something that is a true reality here, and that is that the world is often designed with the most dominant perspective in mind. My name is Shana Pyatt-Buckner, and I've been in education for over 30 years. And I've made the most glorious mistakes. And I have now dedicated the rest of my life to sharing the lessons learned from every last one of them. So this is one of those lessons. All right, so about 12 or 13 years ago, I was introduced to this mosaic by my son when he was learning how to write his letters. And so my son Malachi, that's him all the way there on the far right. I know, I love that picture. So I get this call from his teacher who tells me that he's falling behind the rest of his class. He's falling behind the rest of his class in learning how to write his letters. He's not learning how to write as quickly as the other students and not as neatly as the others. And not even as neatly as, that's his twin sister right there. Yeah, I really love that picture. They look like an old retired couple, but you know, that's fine. That's fine. It's one of my favorite pictures. And so she says she's going to send home some extra practice sheets for him. And that's a copy of what the practice sheet looked like. When I look at the sheet, I realize that the letters are all written on the left-hand side of the page. And so Malachi is covering up the letters as he's trying. So he's lifting his hand, he's trying to see, right? Plus he's smudging it as it goes along. All right, so now my mama bear instincts kicks in, right? And then I think about it more and I realize that the problem isn't the pace at which he's writing or even the quality of the letters that he's writing. The problem is that the class has been designed with a right-handed need and right-handed perspective in mind. So I decide the next day, I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna talk to the teacher. So I go in and I ask the teacher to please start writing the letters on the right-hand side of the page because I said, at least that will take care of part of the problem. Her response, however, is what shocked me. So the first thing she said was that no one had ever asked her to do anything like that before. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm asking you, like, what? All right. Fine. But then she says, in fact, what most parents do is they switch the hand to the right hand instead. Thank you. Thank you. And there it was. A perfect example of what the urban mosaic is about, right? It's about acknowledging differences It's also about understanding unique perspectives. But the part that sometimes gets forgotten is the fact that it must also be about taking care and shifting and taking care of those needs of those who are within our community. We need to see every student for how they learn, every colleague for how they work best. We need to do that instead of assuming that all are going to achieve the same goals and the same levels of success based off of a single perspective. A one-size-fits-all strategy does not teach anyone how to succeed. In fact, all it does is signal that some will always fall short. And then when one has become convinced of their own intrinsic limitations, then we do more than just lose learning. We've actually lost potential. So what do we do about it? I'm not going to end the talk on a glum note there. What do we do about it? I'm going to propose that we do 3 potential things to try, and we consider those things to be 3 tiles that we place differently in this mosaic. So the first tile is to ask, don't assume. Ask, don't assume. Instead of making decisions based off of a perceived majority, why not just get out there and ask what people actually need? A simple question like, what would make this easier for you, is a small shift that can make a big difference. Malachi did not need more practice sheets constructed with a right-handed lens. He needed the letters written in a place where he could see them so he could write them and access them. So the first tile, the first solution is to ask, don't assume. The second solution, design with flexibility. If we build classrooms and build workspaces where there are multiple ways to access engagement, learning, and success, well, then no one gets left behind. It could look something like, for some, and I'm not saying every single unit we need to do this, but imagine if for some of the units, students get to choose how they demonstrate mastery on a particular standard even. Or in a workplace, imagine if the teammates get to select how they choose to contribute to a particular project. Small steps like that make a big difference. When we design with flexibility, flexibility signals you belong here, just as you are. So design with flexibility. And then the third tile to place differently is normalize the shift. Listen, the hard part is not actually making these changes. The hard part is making shift, change part of your community, your school, your work culture. When we normalize the shift, normalize making changes, then no one has to feel like the exception. No one has to feel like a burden. Making adjustments, making shifts becomes part of the mosaic. And then we have now considered that part of the design from the beginning. So we want to ask, don't assume. We want to design with flexibility. And we want to normalize the shift. And when we do that, we are building something much bigger than ourselves. Right? In fact, when we engage in that way, we have now decided that every tile, just like every single person, while it can shine and while they can shine on their own, that being part of this mosaic and the beauty comes in when they have been part of the design from the very beginning. Every tile matters, every student matters, every colleague matters. And when we honor that, we are going to build more than just inclusive classrooms and workspaces. We're going to make spaces in our community so much richer, stronger, more innovative, and simply more human. So here is my invitation to you. Tomorrow or Monday, whatever workspace it is that you're going to go into or school, find that one person to ask the question, what would make this easier for you? And when they answer, listen. And if it's something that you can do to help them, help them. Because that could be the first tile that you lay differently. And when more of us begin to place our tiles more purposefully, well, then we're going to build a mosaic that is truly reflective of all of us. Thank you so much. Thank you.